Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to SEO Questions, episode 286. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google Plus and the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. With us today we have Jenny Halaz. Jenny Halaz is a leading internet search marketer, a regular on the public SEO speaking circuit, and she's based in Raleigh, North Carolina. And she's president and CEO founder and CEO of JLH Marketing in the US. We also have Lyndon Na. Lyndon was one of the first few people. I think he started with us on about the 5th episode of Dumb SEO Questions. He's been away for a little while and now back. Welcome back. And Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net. He is also a Google top contributor on the Google AdSense community. And you can find Masataki at wasaweb.net, wasaweb.net. Sash Meyer is a disaster recovery specialist. He's proud to call himself an SEO. He is based currently in the UK, sometimes in the US. I forgot to say Masataki is located in Wimbledon in the UK.
I am anything but an SEO.
Anything but.
I do so much more.
And so shy and unassuming. Sash is a Google top contributor on the Google web search community. No, it's not. It's the Google Webmasters community. And you can find Sash at sashmeyer.com. Is that right? Is that the right one?
That's one of them.
Yeah.
Because you got to know how to spell it as well. But
SASH.
No.
Vladimir Putin's protege, Tim Kappa, he's based in Corby, about 100 miles north of London. He's a Google top contributor on the Google My Business community, and he's founder and CEO of onlineownership.com. All right, we have 19 questions tonight. Let's tweet this and we will get cracking. What's going wrong? Here we are. All right, our first question tonight is from Kevin Carney. He asks the question titled, "What is the best way of determining the detailed backlink profile of a website? What tool or tools do you guys use?" A lot of tools in here.
Yeah, there's quite a few. My general kind of Search Console, SEMrush, and Ahrefs. That does me fine, but there's plenty out there.
Majestic is better. Majestic.com, the #1 link figuring out tool. Got a much bigger data pool than Ahrefs. Just saying.
I'm also a fan of Majestic, but I just learned that Moz is relaunching their Link Explorer, and it's supposed to be the largest database available. So maybe worth checking out.
I'll take a look, but I've toured Majestic. They're massive.
Yes.
Massive.
I go from the other end. I start with server logs, because that means you can actually not only see the link that comes in, which may be missed by some of the crawlers, you can also see the quality of the traffic as well as the volume.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's one of those things where there's really no way to get a full backlink database, but combining a lot of the different tools together will generally get you about 70% of them.
I can totally see why you've been away for 5 years. Now you can go again.
He's been busy analyzing server logs.
Amongst
Just
other
one.
things.
It was really big.
All right, let's call that a wrap for Kevin Carney, and we'll move on to the next. Okay, this one is from Vo Thang, and Vo wants to said I need to change old URLs which are ranking well. Vo said, "Hi members, next I will change my site to a WordPress CMS. That means that I need to delete all of the old URLs. How should I go about changing to a new website? My site is currently ranking on the top 10 in Google. Thank you so much."
Why can you not recreate your URL structure if everything is ranking so well? I mean, just because you're switching a CMS doesn't mean you automatically have to change. I mean, what's your URL structure looking like now? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yes,
Yeah, well, I mean, he might have like a .php on the end or something like that. But as Sash said, don't change the actual URL structure itself. So if it's like /pink-fluffy-elephants, and then your original is .php ending, your new one in WordPress could be same again, pink-fluffy-elephants, just redirect and have the same page, have the same structure,
Well, is WordPress that configurable though? Can you configure WordPress to output like that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, as far as it goes, the category and URL structure is actually fairly flexible. And meanwhile, I mean, if he does change stuff, all he really needs to make sure is if the content doesn't change, that he just gets proper 301 redirects in place from the old URLs to the newer URLs, and the impact should, in theory, be minimal.
Don't forget HT access. You can actually do complete rewrites.
Yeah, but would he need to do a rewrite if he's going to configure WordPress to match his old URL structure?
If he's got file extensions on the existing ones, which he likely does, saying .html or .php, he can actually set HT access to receive the .php, strip it off, and then pass that through the main index file for WordPress. So to the browser, the URL is the same. To the server, it gets the correct directions.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, Vo Thang, I hope that proves useful to you, and let us know how you went. We'd love to know. All right, this one from Razvan Alexa. Razvan was going to come and join us tonight, but something must have happened. He said it's a question about indexing of a large e-commerce site for car parts. He's running a 200,000 plus page e-commerce site. Recently, we removed the canonicals preventing indexing based on car model. The pages we submitted manually rank very quickly. However, indexing is close to zero for the other. The site is in magenta. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Heavens above. He said the site is in Magento 1. The sitemap contains 200,000 pages split into 6 sitemaps, none having more than 50% of the pages indexed. Okay, I'd be happy to clarify any aspect. He said, thanks a lot for your help. My thought is the maximum you can have is 50,000, so I hope he doesn't have 100,000 in one of these sitemaps.
Well, I mean, 200,000 by 6, you wouldn't think so. At this point in time, do we have a URL for this thing, or are we flying blind?
We're blind, I think.
That's not so good. I mean, my immediate. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I believe we had this question last week.
We certainly had a question from Razvan Alexa, but I don't think we had this particular question, did we?
I'm not sure. I'm having deja vu.
Yeah,
I mean,
seems like we answered this one.
He did have indexing problems because, if I remember correctly from last week, he had included the make of the vehicle. So initially he had the parts, everything was indexed fine, and then he added he removed the no index of the part, or sorry, the make or the car or whatever, and only some parts of that had been indexed, I think.
My question here would be how sort of generic are the pages that are not being indexed? I mean, if it's all kind of stock manufacturers' descriptions and what have you.
Big time. Then, now I'm going off memory, but let's say the part was a YG1 air filter. Now that was fine, but now they included the make, so let's call it a Ford. So, but that also could fit a Chevy. So now you would have a Ford YG1F filter, air filter, that could also fit. So essentially they were going to be pretty thin, I think, from my understanding.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
It's basically tons and tons and tons of replication and cookie cutter with only a minor difference being the target keyword. Google doesn't want to waste its time on it.
So this is once again the part where, yeah, if there's too much similarity and replication, then Google will basically just go, what's the point? But once more, without actually physically having a site to check out, shooting in the dark.
See, there's lots of potentials here. The first is Google doesn't guarantee indexing, even if you submit the sitemap. The second is crawl budget. Just how often is it being crawled on that server, and how many other sites are on that server with how many pages? So Google may not actually be able to crawl all of it because it's busy crawling other bits. Third is page rank and value. If these pages have just suddenly been added, they've got very little value, it's all internal, Google's barely seen them before, and it's going to go, no, I've got other things I'd rather crawl. And then if it is crawling it, it'll be going, hey, I've seen this before. All you've done is add that word there. No, I'm not having that.
Okay.
But meanwhile, if he can actually supply a URL, I'll be happy to go and take a look in time for next week.
Well, I just invited him again to join us. So I was just hoping that maybe he doesn't have
I mean,
Google
if he,
Plus turned on.
yeah, if he joins later, we can always revisit the question. That's not a problem. Of course.
All right. Let's call that a wrap for Razvan. This one is from Ragul Gandhi. He said he can't find the meta description for his site in Google. He's just set up Yoast SEO for his homepage and can't find the meta description.
Well, if nobody else wants it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Maybe didn't wait long enough for it to get indexed. Maybe Google felt there was content from your page that was more appropriate for the meta description. Or maybe when you set up your site on Yoast, you forgot to unclick the button that says hide this from search engines.
Yep. And I'd say that's all we need to do to provide a 100% answer for Ragul. Okay, let me tweet that and we'll move on. All right, this one from Oliver Max. He said a site that doesn't have a sitemap, it's titled. He said, dumb question, if a site doesn't have a sitemap, is it safe to assume that they haven't done any on-page SEO? Thanks.
No. Not at all.
And what I said actually on the forum was, how do you know they have no sitemap? Not everybody names it sitemap.xml.
Exactly.
I sure don't. In fact, I make a point of not naming it sitemap.xml.
Generally, yeah.
Actually, you don't even have to have the sitemap on the site, do you? You can have it on another site, can't you?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I don't think cross-domain sitemap will work unless it's an hreflang situation.
It's also the case of how whether you're telling Google where your sitemap is. You can do it via markup in the head section, at which point you can snoop it out and go look for it. If you're adding it any other way, e.g. use Search Console or robots text, you don't know what it is unless you can find it. So they could have 52 different sitemap files and an index, and you will never know.
Right. And then further to that, a sitemap is not essential in doing on-page SEO. Some SEOs don't even use them. Some webmasters don't even know they exist. Doesn't mean they haven't done things to try and optimize their site.
No, that's it. And I mean, on top of that, if you're only running a smaller site, a lot of the time you will make a conscious choice that the sitemap really isn't necessary, especially if you're not updating every 5 minutes. You know, if you're only adding stuff every now and again, then Google will quite happily sort its own way through your site out without the need to actually create an XML sitemap.
Yep. By the way, I must acknowledge people like Michael Martinez and Eamon Johns and Alan Blue Ice and I see another one there, Bonnie Burns. I even see Jenny Halaz has answered this particular one a couple of times.
Who's she?
The lady on your right, Sash. We really do appreciate the people that step up to the plate every day through the week and answer questions, both on the SEO Questions community on Google Plus and the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. All right, let's move on from this one and go to the next. This one is from Lauren Baker. Does link cloaking affect SEO? Lauren said, dumb question. Do you cloak your affiliate links? And if so, did you notice a rank lift in the search engine results pages or click-through ratio lift on the links, not the search engine results pages, after doing so? By cloaking, I mean sending them through a no-followed redirect on a /go directory folder or something like that.
I consider that practice to be stupid, and that's pretty much all I will say on it.
I'd second that.
I'll be a little softer. I don't understand why you would do that in any scenario.
I can supply one because we did it for probably 10 years. And that was, we were able to log every click out of the site. I mean, you can always log the clicks into the site. You've got the site logs for that, but you've got no way of knowing which of the links on your site people click to go away from you. So by forcing everything through a folder and then through a logging server, we were able to measure which links on our site were getting the most clicks out.
So that's just because you don't actually have a proper analytics package, right?
Well, analytics that can't measure something that's gone. It can only measure what's coming in.
Beg to differ.
It can't. You're
Well,
wrong.
no, Google Analytics cannot, but you can measure it with analytics. I can guarantee you that.
Google Analytics can too. You just set up an outbound click link event.
Okay, yes, you could do that. Yeah.
I think the crux here is they've used the word cloaking, and it's not. It's not cloaking. It's redirecting outbound links through a script so they can track it, which was standard practice quite a while ago. As far as I'm aware, there's no major harm from doing it. I've never seen anyone prove that Google will give you a downer because you're doing that practice. And I don't think I've ever seen a change in rankings when you stop doing it either. But I've only ever removed it 3 times. So it's possible, but I've not seen it.
In my experience, Google knows it's an affiliate link and just discounts it anyway. So there's no benefit or detriment to you doing it any way that you do it.
It does provide a nicer URL for the user though. Instead of I mean, affiliate links generally are pretty horrible looking things in the there. So it does, when they mouse over, they can see a nice clean link. Like it could be going to your site / valued merchant.
The average user, by and large, will not even register the actual URL when links are hovered over a click.
If you're after tracking and you're concerned about it, why not go through and put all your affiliate URLs through a URL shortener? Because some of them will provide you with click analysis, which means you've got a trusted domain because it's linked to from all over the internet, and you get the analytics access.
Yes, but effectively that's what you're doing. Surely it's you're redirecting to a folder and then to a logging server, which then sends it on to the right place.
But the concern seems to be how Google will perceive the links. So if it goes off to a third site that Google knows deals with shortened links, it should remove that worry. Technically, it shouldn't make any difference.
Yeah, well, we didn't notice any issue. In fact, we actually took it off at one point because of another issue, and didn't notice any improvement. Anyway, let's. I think I've tweeted this one already, but we'll try it and see. Yes, I have.
I'm just gonna say real quick. I looked up the link that he referenced in his question here, and there are 3 advantages that Yoast lists to cloaking affiliate links. But frankly, I don't think any of them are valid. So,
Thank you, Jenny.
if you want to go and look at that.
Okay. I see we've just been joined by Ashok Panda. Ashok is an SEO based in Germany, I think. Ashok, isn't it? I hope I'm right. All right, let's move on. This one from Andreas Osorio. What other rules should be considered for adding a review star rich snippet to a page? He said, "Hi everyone, my question is regarding schema implementation, specifically aggregate rating." He said, "I know you shouldn't do it on your homepage, but what other rules should be considered for adding a review star rich snippet to a page? What should a page with aggregate rating have in order for proper implementation? Any advice or tutorial on how to add schema to a WordPress site without the use of plugins?"
You can ask 10 different SEOs this and you're going to get 10 different answers. But in my experience, you better follow schema.org rules, especially when dealing with aggregate rating, because it's a really quick way to get a manual penalty for featured snippet abuse. Structured, what do they call it? A spammy structured data markup penalty.
I'll follow that with the fact of you would probably be far better served using a plugin, because there's at least 4 different ways of supplying rich snippet data, and it's very easy to get any of them wrong. And again, that can lead to it being perceived as abuse, or garbled snippets, or just no snippets and you wasting hours of your time trying to fathom what's wrong.
Okay. I see we've just been joined by Micah Fisher-Kirshner. Micah is based on the west coast of the USA. He's, I'm not sure of his actual title, SEO, Senior SEO Manager, or SEO Director, or Head of
Director
Search?
of SEO. Director of SEO and content.
Excellent. Yeah. And that is for, what's the company is?
Turn River Capital.
Turn River Capital, that's right. Okay. Because it has it could be interpreted as a poker thing. Turn and River. The Texas Hold'em are the last 2 cards, and so I was thinking of all sorts of things like Full Deck. No, that's not it. Anyway, Micah is a regular on the public SEO speaking circuit, and we're very lucky to have him join us. All right, we've covered Andrea's question on rich snippets. All right, let me tweet that and we'll go to the next. Number 8 on our run list, Aloha Kayode. Aloha said, the question is, I'm trying to get the backlink of a site. I need an insight from the professionals in the house. If, for instance, I'm trying to get the backlinks of a site, e.g. xyzexample.com, I tried to use the link colon search, but later realized that it has been deprecated by Google. Are there any other techniques or tools I can use to get over this? Need your suggestions.
I suggest going back and looking at the earlier question about links. So Majestic, Ahrefs, Moz Link Explorer, server logs, Google Search Console.
Yeah, basically retweet that and we're good.
All right, although I think
server logs won't work if it's somebody else's site, not unless they're really, really stupid and left them publicly available, which isn't unheard of, along with their ORStats subdomain or folder.
Okay, our next one is number 9 on our run list from Chris Bingham. It's titled Brand Name versus Keywords in the URL. Chris said, "Hi everyone, I'm new in here, but I think I have a good starting question that will be a challenge. When does the homepage title tag focused shift from trying to rank for keywords to incorporating the brand name first, and possibly some keywords in the title after the brand name, from main industry keywords, brand, main industry keywords? The client is in a competitive space, but not one that the average person is searching for. The client is a manufacturer of big machines. The keyword search estimate for the main term is about 800. We have created pillar pages around the topics related to the main keywords. So those pages are utilizing the keywords in the title tag. And we're trying to keep those pillar pages ranked in the highest search volumes. My boss thinks that the homepage title tag should also utilize that main keyword at the beginning of the tag, so the search engine results page result will definitely tell the user what the site is about. I think that we can incorporate the keyword into the tag, but at this point the brand name should be first in the homepage title tag, so that we aren't competing against ourselves to the ranking of the pillar page. Any thoughts or articles supporting one side or the other would be appreciated.
So that shift occurs when you go from having a low quality SEO to a high quality one.
Touche, my lord.
Yeah. Look, this is basically when you start to actually care about branding, which should have been at the start in the first place. Now, granted, in the past, a lot of that focus wasn't necessarily there on the internet, or even with SEOs, or even early on with the internet. But generally, branding is more and more of an important thing to stand out. So that shift should be have already occurred, but if it hasn't, it's something that should be done today. I mean, it's not that there is really any sources of saying one is more preferable than the other, but essentially, you can take a look at and see that as more people are actually referencing your brand, Google is showing things that are coming up in related searches, the drop-down menu, the search suggestions, all those things kind of help to imply kind of that there is a brand, and so having that being prominent is a way to kind of push yourself to stand out and more likely like, oh yeah, I've heard of this, I'll take a look. Whereas if you're trying to diminish the brand, that can potentially harm you in the long run. This doesn't say to put brand over everything, but it's something that needs to be placed into the main consideration, because that's what somebody is looking for generally on a search, is to hit the homepage, and they want to know information about your brand. So that should be one of the most prominent things right away. So that's kind of the way that I look at it, at least.
Yeah, well, I like that. I'm sure we've got some more from our team tonight.
I tend to split it based on intent and content purpose. If people are searching for your brand, then you're somewhat established. If they're not, then it's not really a major consideration. But your site content will be split into those looking at the company and those looking at the information or products your company can supply. Any company page, I generally put the company name first. So it would be XYZ separator, and then I'd put about us or contact us or media pack or whatever else the standard default pages are on your site that people will be looking for associated with your brand. All other pages that serve a particular specific purpose to match a user intent, brand goes last. Because they're not interested in the brand, they're interested in the content and the focus of that content. Include the brand, but right at the end.
Thank you, Lyndon. Anybody else? They must have decided that Micah and Lyndon have covered it all. All right, let me tweet that. I think that's a great question and a great pair of answers. Let's go to the next. Pedro Jose. The question is titled "The Risk of Changing Domain Name." Pedro goes on to ask, he said, important SEO question. I have just acquired a .io domain name for one of my tech websites. The website is on the top 3 Google organic results with the actual .com extension. Would you consider it a risk if I make the .io domain as the primary domain to the website? How about a 301 from the current .com to the .io? The actual .com is a long tail domain, while the .io domain is the shortest version of the .com domain. Imagine the domain xyzusa.com is now xyz.io.
I would say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Any domain move always comes with a risk. Most of the time somebody will get something wrong, and I've actually lost count of the number of times I've been called in to repair exactly the aftermath of this kind of thing. I mean, if you are moving domain out of necessity, then do it and be very, very, very careful that you get everything right. If it's a vanity thing and you're already ranking extremely well, I would personally think twice. I would really, really think twice. I mean, obviously, without knowing the actual URLs involved, you know, if one of them is like Washington State National Park Tickets Remote via online auction.com, and the other one is, you know, Washington State National Park Tickets.io, yeah, different story. But no, on the whole, I'd be careful. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I've seen this done for a number of tech companies. To essentially, they buy the long tail name, they drop off certain words in order to get the shorter version at a later point in time. Yes, there is a risk involved, as Sach was just saying, and you need to make sure you've properly redirected the 301 redirect to the site over, and you've done kind of a lot of the due diligence with a proper SEO involved. But there's also branding considerations, so you're needing to make sure that you have been establishing your brand as XYZ and not, what was the example, XYZ USA previously. because you're not then just you're not just having an SEO potential issue, but then a whole branding issue as well. So you want to kind of make sure you've properly done the shift beforehand, so people have gotten used to that. That's kind of one of the things I would as well highlight as a part of any potential shift to get a shorter name that's a little more marketable, so to speak.
Yeah, I just want to jump. Oh, go ahead, Lyndon.
No, you first.
Thank you. I just wanted to jump in. I have a client who's actually in the process of doing this, not from one top-level domain to another, but from a subdomain to another. And it was a business decision. There's definitely a strong risk involved, and you need a really qualified SEO in addition to a really qualified developer to guide you through this, because it's just way too easy to miss things if you count on just say a development shop or a design shop to do the redirects. They're going to miss stuff. So if you choose to do it, hire an SEO.
Excellent.
As Dave alluded to, it's not a simple affair. You're not just setting up server-based redirects or scripted redirects. You've got to change every single internal link to all your resources as well as all your pages. If you're running a CDN, you might have to make changes to that as well. It all gets fairly complicated, and they're not kidding. You will miss bits. It doesn't matter how good you are, how many times you've done this, you're going to miss bits. So whoever does it, you've got to be able to get in touch with them and get them to act on it pretty quick, because Google will crawl and find it. And then you're going to have to juggle it as fast as you can. The other question is, why are you making the transition? What benefit does it give you or your end users? Because I'm not really seeing much of a gain there. If it's purely for marketing, then use the short domain and redirect that to your pre-existing one that's already got your rankings. What's the point of risking losing a sixth of your link value through a 301 just to get a shorter domain name? Does it really matter? Other considerations are, how competitive is your market and how close do you think the next person down in the rankings is score-wise? If you drop a couple of percentage of your value, are they going to sit above you in the SERPs, or have you got enough wiggle room to survive it quite comfortably? What's your link acquisition rate? How fast can you get new links pointing to the new domain to boost it? Because you will need to prop it as quick as possible. So before you start doing any redirects, make sure you've got a promotional campaign ready to roll and start pushing that as you do the redirects, so you get the least bounce possible.
And I'll just add to it, when you redirect a domain, you also have to redirect all of the domains or all of the redirects that came before. This is something that I see people miss all the time. You've got a redirect file on your site already that's probably taking care of older versions of the pages or older versions of the domain that also has to come over, or you're going to lose opportunity there with potential backlinks or even just user behavior, people who have old pages bookmarked, all that kind of stuff. And Masa made a comment in the chat that I want to point out as well, is don't have this project delivered on a Friday evening, is what he said. And he's absolutely right. Make sure and give yourself time. If you're in retail, do not do this anytime around the holiday season. Like, be smart about it.
Actually, that's a good point. So that last part there, a great example of that was Overstock. And they basically tried to do that switch from overstock.com to o.co. And I don't know the exact details, but I know enough that it took longer than expected, and they actually had to backtrack on it because it was coming into their holiday season. for all the their main purchase, the people buying season. And so like you need that is a great point, and you want to dive in for a use case, go and study about what happened with overstock on that.
Excellent. Look,
yeah, Jim, I just dropped a link in the chat. It's an article written by BuzzFeed News from this week about Overstock.com, and the title is Overstock.com is getting crushed by a Google algorithm update.
Excellent. Okay, I will
Very
add that to this question.
Yeah, worth a read.
Yep, excellent. Now we've got a technical issue, guys. We've been recording for about 40 minutes, and for the whole of those 40 minutes, my face has been the only one on the screen. On a night when we have eight people participating, they can only see me. So if anybody has any clues that there's some button I have to push that Google's just recently changed.
Good God, man, I am so much better looking than you are, and they've been looking at you. Oh, man.
Public apologies.
Team I could see, but you, oh.
Yes.
You tap on the picture, tap at the bottom, your picture, and that should then be shifted around.
But tapping on my picture, that just locks it on, locks me on.
That was the joke, that you had it already locked on.
Oh wait. I wonder if I tap on Micah and see, there's a lag, so I can't tell.
To our viewers, for those of you that have been suffering and feel deeply disturbed, medical assistance is made available.
Thank you very much.
Sorry. Well, better your face than mine.
I mean, what are Google doing, you know? You unmitigated prats. I'm talking about Google, not you guys, obviously. All right, let's. Well, we'll struggle on, I guess. I don't know how I can fix this. Anyway, I think we'll use something different from now on.
How about a big fluffy elephant?
Any one of us can basically just mute Jim and pretend to be him now.
What you need to do is take a screenshot, blow up each picture, print it out, and then hold them up to your camera.
I second that motion.
You could even make little masks.
Oh, there we go. We could each wear a mask that looks like somebody else.
That could get confusing.
Isn't that the point?
I think we should just go with sock puppets for while we're at it. I'd love to see Jin trying to do that.
Funnily enough, Lyndon and I are kind of working on something along those lines as far as instructional videos go, but more of that much later.
Sorry, was that extortional or instructional?
Oh, did I say instructional? Extortional, obviously.
All right. This one is a good one. This is a site, allchips.ai, and they also own the .com. They've owned it for about 5,000 weekends or 5,000 days, something like that. Anyway, the link is www.allchips.ai, and his name is Felix Law. He's e-commerce manager for this company hard city in Hong Kong. They've got a lovely site there, a heap of work done on it. But it's not doing so well. He said, I want to have more keywords rank in the Google top 10. Who can help us? I think he's looking for a commercial supplier, actually. Our website has domain authority 18, page authority 31, but only 400 keywords and 9 visits from SEMrush. Who can give us good service or some tips? Don't tell me my sound's gone too.
I'd have to take a closer look first rather than just trying to wing it right here, but I'm happy to take a look.
I wouldn't be surprised if the homepage like can't really be rendered.
There do actually seem to be some overlap and rendering problems now that I'm looking at the thing. Ooh, no, autoplay. Ooh, stop. Don't enable autoplay. That's a really, really bad plan.
Yeah.
I do like the site. I agree with Jim. It's nice. It's polished. Like it.
Well,
Yeah, you haven't looked
so
at the mall section yet.
My initial effort to load this site failed. So you may have a server side issue.
Well, it's also forcing you to, it's also rewriting how you scroll and how you interact with the site. It's actually overriding. Like, if you try to scroll, it slows you down. It's one of the, yeah, they're doing some really non-standard stuff on the homepage there. Mm-hmm. So that might be why. Yeah, so like the main homepage really isn't even like what it is. You want to go to like the mall section to really see what they sell. You have a better sense of kind of the site.
Well, I guess I'm having a little bit of like, am I on a different site? The mall site is completely different.
Yep.
Design-wise than the main site, and gosh, it's taking a long time to load.
Yeah, every single one of the top navs is essentially, it looks like a different site. It is different. It's like different design for the whole thing.
One thing I will say, and it's usability more than SEO, that video on the homepage auto-uploads every time I mouse over. That is really bad UX. Okay, that's really bad UX.
So keep it up just for Sach.
Yeah, I mean, I am still waiting for anything to load on the mall.
No, the mall's loaded fine for me. What I don't understand is why it loads in a new tab.
Yeah,
again, that's really poor UX.
I think that's a standard in China. I
think China needs to actually, if China wants to function in the rest of the world, China needs to do it like the rest of the world does it, with all due respect.
Yeah. No, I'll throw that out because...
Oh, look, it's auto-playing again.
About ads opening a new window, and they do that for China, and it seems to be the case that it's standard practice.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
This is literally all I get.
Oh, interesting.
I mean,
and again, you shouldn't be using IE6, should you?
Kidding me? No, this is Chrome. Funny, but this is Chrome. Yeah, I mean, I think you have some response time issues, some rendering issues, definitely some usability things going on here.
I'm seeing a lot of very empty pages looking at some of the mall stuff listed in the SERPs. I found one page that's got removed stamped on it, so you can't add to cart. And when I've gone down, it's basically just a bunch of attributes about the chip, and there's no product description. So Google might actually be seeing it all as thin content.
Yeah, lots of empty pages. Nickel cadmium batteries, for example, just returns an empty page.
I'm going to be kind of a jerk for a minute here. Your translation needs work. Like, as a US customer looking at this, it says apply for a more decent price. That just makes me realize that whoever wrote this site, English is not your first language, and that frankly makes me uncomfortable about giving you my credit card.
It's also the fact that the pricing's going to vary, which means that you may be paying more than what anybody else pays, depending on who you speak to and how they wangle it. People don't like inconsistent pricing. Everyone wants a bargain, but you've got to word it far better than that.
Well, I mean, there's definitely, you know, this industry, there's bulk pricing, you know, there's enterprise level pricing, there's wholesale pricing. All of those are possibilities, and I think anybody who does searches for products like these recognizes that. But I agree that it needs to be worded more carefully.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope we might send our response to Felix and invite him to tell us more, because I think it's an interesting thing. It's clearly a large company, and I'd like to see them do better.
It might actually be quite cool if he's willing to do a site clinic on this thing. You know, as part of the hangout, that might be something worthwhile if he's willing to join.
Yep.
Well, and he's quite cool to give us the URL. Like, most people don't, and that's a cool thing. And I have to applaud you for agreeing to do that, because a lot of people want to keep everything really close to the vest, and that certainly keeps us from giving more productive answers sometimes.
It's actually one of the ironies of internet commerce. Here you are, wanting to be found, wanting more exposure, wanting more customers, and you're going, no, I'm not giving you my URL. It's, you know, don't get it.
Yep. Okay. Look, I'm sorry. I apologise to those that I turned the camera on before. I was clicking buttons trying to get this thing to work, but I just can't do it. I just don't understand Google. I mean, why break something that is working? It's worked for years. It's unless they deliberately don't want it's something like dumb SEO questions. Anyway, Let's move on to the next. I'll just tweak that. All right, number 12 on our run list. A lovely site from Craig Anthony. He wants to know, does font type affect SEO? He goes on to say style versus SEO, or styles versus SEO, search engine optimization, since we try to break the jargon here. I really like the style of the font for my navigation sections on my homepage. He said, I made sure I used what I thought was a Google-friendly font called Quigley, but I've been advised to change it to a web-safe font. I thought it was. I chose it as it complemented the font style of the brand logo. What are your thoughts on this? Thanks in advance.
So I don't know on its own if Quigley's web-friendly font or not. The usual, or web-safe font. The usual reason why they say not to use a kind of custom font is it adds time for the user to download. You run the risk of older browsers not recognizing it. Those are usually kind of the two main things. In this situation, I can't say whether or not Quigley is an issue, but just from a background standpoint, that's why usually you hear people say use a web-safe font. So you just avoid having either a longer loading time or older browsers breaking.
There's also a usability or user experience issue, which is quite often you get fount, which is a flash of unstyled text, which means that the page loads, renders, they start to read it, and then your web font kicks in, and depending on your styling, it may jiggle the page around or result in them having to scroll back up or down, which can be very off-putting, particularly if you do it with lots of different fonts. But personally, I would never have assumed it as being an SEO factor directly. Indirectly, it might impact your page load speed, make you very, very slow. It could impact user experience and bounce rate, but I wouldn't have thought Google goes, they're loading that serif font. Let's boot them out the SERPs. I've never heard of it.
So we had a training session at the Plex last year, and it's like, if you use Comic Sans, you automatically get de-indexed.
He's kidding, of course.
He's not kidding. He's saying the others are kidding. He wants that to happen.
You're also not allowed blue or pink letters. That's an instant ban.
I think this goes back to follow on what we had in the previous question. If we had an example, it would be a lot easier to answer this question. The only thing I want to mention is that a lot of times fonts, whether they're web safe or not, can be hard to read. So it really depends on, you said you chose it because it complemented the font style of the brand logo, but a lot of times logos can be kind of hard to read, and they're recognizable simply because of colors or shape. So if you're using that for your main nav, people may not be able to read it as well. And then also think about what it looks like in a responsive environment when you shrink it down. If I'm looking at it, on my little mobile phone, is it even harder to read? But other than load time considerations, I don't think there's anything for SEO here.
See, at the end of the day, readability always has to trump aesthetics. It does. There's no question about it. You can have it as pretty as you want, but if the visitor can't read it, you're screwed. It's as simple as that.
We lost Jim.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just trying different things to try and make this work, but without success, sadly.
You know, it was showing your face in a circle, and every time you spoke, it put rings round it, showing the volume. It looked like the end of a Looney Tunes video.
Thank you, Lyndon. Thank you. Okay. It's so frustrating. All right. We just covered Craig Anthony's question. Will we call that covered? Move on. All right. So, bear with me. Okay, number 13 on our run list, unlucky for some, Kumar Sanjeevas, a question titled 404 error on the Google cache. I had a look at that, it was crazy. Anyway, he said, we have a site, https www.howzat.com, made in Angular JavaScript, JS. When I am trying to access the Google cache, any of the pages of the website, I'm getting a 404 error. By the way, this is a 404 error on Google. The query cache https://www.howzat.com. Can anybody help me with a possible fix for it? Well, I've got to thank Michael Martinez again for saving the day. He's loaded a few YouTube clips which have apparently addressed that issue. And apparently Google covered this topic in last week's Google I/O 2018 conference. Anyway, it's...
I've definitely been able to recreate the same problem.
It's still there.
Yeah, it's still there. As of, yeah, yesterday. So why? Some kind of unintended cloaking? Not sure.
Yeah, it drove me mad too. It gave me a headache, so I stopped. Anyway, let's tweet that. And well, actually, we don't have an answer, so I better not tweet it. Let's go to the next one. Number 14 on our run list for Melissa Fark. Melissa said it's titled, When You See Entity Salience, What Are Your First Thoughts? This is not.
Oh, wait, I have the answer on the previous one.
Oh, yes?
Yes, their 404 error page is a 200 status. I don't know for sure why that's caching that way, but you need to change your 404 error page to be a 404 error status. Because if it's 200, then Google will just index it as it is.
Yeah. Excellent. I'll put that through when I advise them of the clip. All right. Sorry. So, yeah, no problem. Melissa Fark said, when you see entity salience, what are your first thoughts? Reading an article where this has been mentioned as a current advanced SEO strategy. Would love some insights because I need to reply and want to say the right thing. Yeah, people talk to Facebook, and it's like it's into the ear of a friend, but it's in front of a crowd of 10,000. And yeah, I wouldn't say I want to say the right thing. Anyway, good on you, Melissa. What do we have to answer for Melissa's salient question?
Are they talking about prominence, as in semantic structures, H1s being above H2s, H2s being nested, how far up the
Yeah.
code it is?
I mean, I
Because
Googled
that's an
entity
old
salience.
concept.
Yeah, I Googled entity salience and came across a Google research article from 2014 on this. It would just seem that it's basically the same concept as trust rank. The idea that there's certain oh wait, no, this is something from Moz.
Yeah,
Entity salience goes beyond TF-IDF.
Yeah, the other one I'm seeing is around NLP and machine learning. This is the one I'm talking about. So, let me put it this way for you. All of us are essentially Googling to find out what the heck this means. Yeah,
one of the industry's main problems is this propensity to jargonify everything with ever more obscure terms, and it's something I absolutely detest about the dumbasses that are the average SEOs trying to make themselves stand out and really just succeeding in being idiots and obscure.
It's almost like they want to come up with the most obscure term in the hopes of getting a bunch of people to go, I don't know what the heck you're talking about, so you must be smart.
And this is now the thing, really. It's like Bruce Clay invented the term SEO, and he's famous ever since. The fact that he's, well, not really at the forefront anymore, and how do I put this? I won't.
Yeah, you should just stop talking.
Forever. He'll be. I'm going to stop talking now. But he'll be forevermore the guy that invented SEO, and everybody's chasing that next big term. Nobody's really turning around and going, "What does the customer actually think this is?" You know, what does Joe Public industry look for when he searches for this thing? Because I'm too busy with the next clever name. Right?
Okay, so I think my answer to Melissa is reading an article where it's mentioned as a current advanced SEO strategy seems like it's probably total BS, because it's not current, because Google wrote a research paper about it 4 years ago. And it doesn't appear to be any more advanced than somebody who says that TF-IDF is the future, which TF-IDF is the past. So I guess my thought is call BS on it.
See, there are patents that go back over 10 years that look at positional placement of certain elements and markup and whether that has influence. There's a patent along the same lines for link position. If you've got 10 links on the page, they could allocate more link to the more link value through the first and less page rank value through the 10th, because it's further down the page, it's less important. But none of it's new. If they're talking about NLP, Google doesn't really do it. They ended up building their own flaming word matrix that looks at terms rather than individual words. We know it as rank brain. And they stumbled over that. That wasn't an intentional endeavor. So they're not going to be wasting all their resources trying to process text and figure out the semantics behind it, because they've been in that field for 50 years and we still haven't really got all that far. because language is ever evolving, diverse, and can shift very, very quickly. I'm wondering if they're pushing this in the same vein as voice search.
We still there?
Yeah, Melissa,
Yeah,
you and I are friends. I just say call BS on it.
Okay. I won't even tweet it. All right. This one from Ryan Bannon. It's titled On the First Page of Google, but my click rate is low. Ryan went on to say, I've managed to get my website on the first page of Google, which is great, but my click rate is low. To increase the click-through ratio, I changed the meta tag. However, it's picking up the footer information and not my meta tag info. Why is that? Do I need to put the meta tag info where the footer is?
No. No, you don't. Once again, Google, I'm not actually muted, which is interesting. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't.
That's interesting. Jim, what have you done? Hello?
Did we lose Jim?
I don't know.
I can hear now.
Okay, and I forgot what I was saying because I'm like getting old. You don't get to comment on this.
What you were saying is what we're all thinking, which is no.
Yeah, well, that's it. No, I mean, Google
just
is
write
not,
a better meta tag.
That's it. Google is not duty bound to use your meta description or anything in its search snippets. So chances are your meta description is actually suboptimal, which is why it's picking up the footer. The one thing that concerns me here is why is it picking up the footer and not part of your actual page content, which is what should be happening. So what's on that page would be my question.
Yep. All right. I'm sorry for all these technical issues, guys. But we'll just have to do. Do you think that Google's deliberately doing this to us?
Yes, I think they know it's you and they hate you from way back when you used to be in the Webmaster Central forum arguing with everybody, and they're deliberately scuppering you, especially as you're stealing their TCs. And now we've lost Jenny.
TCs? I don't understand what you're talking about. All right.
Jenny's run.
Oh, yeah, Jenny dropped off. We're very lucky to have Jenny with us. All right, Mick King wants to know about a realistic number of referring backlinks. He said, for a new website, when you choose your keywords, what number of referring backlinks would you say you have to have a realistic chance of ranking alongside? Example, if one competitor has 350 referring backlinks, would you say you had a good chance of competing with them? Or what is the limit of referring backlinks you would not go near for the keyword required?
How long is a piece of string? I mean, you may have 350 referring backlinks appearing on your scope. However, how many of those backlinks are actually relevant? You know, how many are carrying any weight at all? Because, you know, he may get his entire ranking power from only 6 of those. So numbers don't really enter into it, and it's really you need to be looking at the quality of your competition's backlinks and also need to actually figure out how to gather your own set of backlinks. What content do you have on your new website that's actually worth resources linking to you? So it's not as simple as it being a numbers game by any stretch of the imagination. Once again, if you go over to majestic.com, for instance, and you put your competitor's link profile through the mill, Majestic has a half decent value scoring system according to trust and citation flows for your competitors' link profiles. So you'll get a much better idea of how it's actually composed, rather than just going on numbers. As for what's the level, hard to say. What you got, it's normally with new websites, I would recommend starting a little lower down the tree and then working up as far as your target terms are concerned, because you're not gonna 99.9 times out of 100 you're not gonna succeed in ranking for that generic term you really want to rank for right out of the gate. It takes time. It can take years to actually rank for stuff that you initially want to rank for, because it's just too generic and the hill is too steep. Now I'm starting to sound like Tim because I cannot physically stop myself from talking. Oh my God.
That's okay, Seth. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here. All right. Let me tweet that. I feel like I've done 15 rounds. All right. This one from Tara Robertson. She said, what happened to Keyword Planner? What does everyone use now?
Common sense. Tim, you don't want to chime in?
Okay, so look, Keyword Planner. Did AdWords remove that? Did they remove it?
No, they castrated it, basically.
Oh, did they? Anyway, yeah, that's how long ago I even looked. Look, firstly, in terms of Keyword Planner, your site, the service, the product, or whatever the case may be, is literally going to dictate those keywords to you. There are other things that you can use. I don't know if there's any free ones. Not sure, but there are quite a few tools that use kind of like topic analysis, etc., to come up with keywords. Sorry, guys, I've got to go.
Okay, mate.
I'll jump in. You can try looking at tools like SpyFu, which will allow you some basic access without an account, and then you can create a free or cheap account and export as many reports as you like. There's tools like SEMrush, and again, that can give you keyword data as well as the search volume, clicks, and that sort of thing. But all of it is based on different searches, different search terms. You need to know what terms people are likely to be searching for before you begin. And the best way to do that is to actually talk to your clients, because quite often they don't know your technical terms, they don't know your industry terms, so they're putting it in their own words, and that's what you've got to find and rank for. So the best bet is phone your customers, see what it is they go and look for, and then target those and do your keyword research based around those, rather than what all your competitors are targeting.
So this comes totally back to my rant from a few minutes ago about the SEO industry and this idiotic jargon. Yeah, no, it's I guess it's not just SEOs, they're just particularly bad at it. But yes, you need to get into the client's head. And a lot of websites seem to make the mistake of writing for peers instead of writing for audience. which is ultimately extremely suboptimal when it comes to, commercial success.
Okay. All right. Let me tweet that. Here we have a question from Somia Magdi. Somia asks, what are your favorite keyword search tools?
See previous answer.
And I will add to that, if you make, even just out of your own personal, whatever you can come up with, make a list of keywords that you think might be handy or potentially lucrative, and then go to Google and search for those keywords with the all-in title operator, and you'll see what level of competition you're actually up against. And that'll give you a fair idea of what your competitors actually consider to be productive keywords and whatnot.
Yep. All right, let me tweet that and we'll move on. Venus Chan asks, how many H1 tags can we have in a page? Someone said we can have as many H1 tags as we want in a page, and I'm wondering if it is true.
Technically, yeah. You could pull it around every piece of text you've got. It won't make any difference. But you could wrap it around what should be a paragraph, wrap it around what should be a list element, you name it. You can pull it in an H1. Just don't expect it to boost your rankings.
All right. Okay, let's call it an answer for Venus, and we'll move on to the next, but I think it's thank you for watching time. It is, yes, it is. All right. Look, if you're still watching us, thank you so much. I apologise that for that entire clip, I was the only one on screen. I hope I remembered not to put my finger in my ear or anything like that. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile, and for that we are truly grateful. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again. But for now, it's good night. And again, thank you very much.